Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the very first Rams Review podcast preview show. And who better to join us than Dan Buxton of the Every Step Along the Way podcast to review Stoke City versus Derby County Matchday 1. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm all good, thank you. Fully recharged after the summer off from the perils of supporting a championship side, as I'm sure you probably feel the same. And yes, all ready and raring to go.
I was going to say, after our last game, nil-nil. Well, an epic nil-nil if you'll ever see it. I must admit, it was the most obvious nil-nil, let's be honest, Dan, that
Yeah.
we're ever going to see in the history of Championship football. And any betting people out there would have probably put a nil-nil down on that. But we move forward quickly, Dan. Season 24-25, you came 18th. Brief thoughts. It was a bit of a lackluster show by Stoke City, but obviously you always have that yearly managerial merry-go-round, I see.
Yes. Yeah, we managed to do it twice that season as well. Yeah. Like I say, got three permanent managers, and um, obviously we from one was started off with Stephen Schumacher. One who the fans were behind, the players seemed to like, and then just out of the blue sacked him. Brought in Narcis Polak, doing what Stoke always do. You know, clubs like to follow models, don't they? Clubs like to get a certain brand of football, if you like, whatever, and then just recruit managers and players alongside it. What Stoke do is we go from one end of the scale to the other for every time we sack a manager. And then they bring in a load of players, and then we sack that manager, and someone else comes in and says, well, these are no good to me. And I think that's pretty much been why we've been in the championship for as long as we have. Um, I do think though we ended the season pretty decent, and Mark Robbins is, a, I'd probably say the best manager we've had for quite a while. A very Stoke manager, I'd say as well. I think he gets the club, he gets the fan base. So yeah, it's encouraging end to the season, and hopefully we don't have a September sacking like we have done in I think three of the last 4 years.
Well, what I've seen, I don't think he's in the top five of managers to lose their job
No.
in the championship. But I heard a stat yesterday that there was a manager change every 15 days last season, which is absolutely bonkers in the championship. But then again,
Yeah.
nowadays you can probably say nothing surprises us. So I think it's good that Stoke have a steady Eddie manager in Mark Robbins because he built Coventry from really not particularly strong foundations. Um, they were very sort of reliant on performances, and I think Stoke, in a way, do you think they're the same that they need some stability now because obviously you've got very rich owners, but they seem to almost spin a roulette wheel every sort of 3 or 4 months and palm the pun of what they're related to. But do you think that stability will come this year, or do you still think it could be a topsy-turvy season?
I'm hoping there is a plan, and I'm hoping that he's given time to, you know, put that put that plan into action and see the results of it. Because, like I say, what seems to have been the case, and if the feeling that I get is that as soon as the fans have shown any type of backlash or getting on a manager's back, the chairman has acted straight away. And I've sort of if we turn the clock back 20 years to Tony Pulis, when obviously John Coates is in charge of the club now, when his dad Peter Coates was in charge, him and Tony Pulis had a really good relationship. And the fans would often, as you can imagine, watching Tony Pulis football every week, when the times weren't great, there would be there were times when the fans would get on his back, would wanted him out, etc. And the chairman would shut that down. They wouldn't even entertain the idea. He's like, no, he's my man. He's sticking around. And so eventually the fans sort of accepted that that's how the club sort of built that relationship to the manager, the chairman, and that's how we got to where we were. Like I say, the thing now is, as soon as the fans get on the manager's back, the chairman pulls the trigger. So the fans feel empowered that every time they don't like something, they just boo when they get rid of a manager, and we end up with a really bad cycle. So yes, I think I'm hoping that the stability. Robbins seems to have the respect. I've not seen anyone really who's questioned Robbins within the Stoke fans. I think is what he's done at Coventry. People looking at and thinking, yeah, Actually, yeah, he's a manager we can get in. There's not really many better out there. If we were to get rid of him, who would we bring in at this stage? We've tried, we've tried near enough everybody. I don't think there's a manager of his experience and caliber that would look at us again. And then, if we were to get rid of him, especially if it was in like innocuous circumstances, if you like, where it wasn't obvious that the sacking was done. So I'm hoping that people are going to be patient. They should be patient. So the signs are that we are going to be patient. So we're going to have a nice, steady season. We've had 7 years in a row, finishing 14th to 18th. So we're going to break that, hopefully, in a positive way, not negative. And that might just, keep people happy that we're building something because that's what football clubs, especially English ones, were always built lately on. You don't sack managers all the time. Give them a couple of years to get things going. That seems to have gone completely out of the game. Like you say, 15 days. Every championship manager relieves his duties every 15 days is crazy when you think the riches that are on offer is obviously what's driving that, isn't it? And the money that comes with getting to the Premier League. But like I say, I was always brought up on and thought that you give a manager a couple of years to get himself before you start judging him.
Well, I think it was John Messino at Portsmouth was the only manager that actually kept his job
Wow.
throughout, or actually went into the 24-25 season and stayed there. So
Oh, yeah.
it just shows you the topsy-turvy life of being a manager in the Championship. So let's talk about Mark Robins' dealings. Looking at your transfer history throughout the summer, you got six in, and I see nine out. So there's been a fair sort of push out the back door, and a fair few coming through the front door. Happy with what you've seen, and who in particular sort of opened your eyes and go, yeah, I'm looking forward to see him.
Yes, I'm quite. Yeah, all the signings are ranging from sort of exciting to intriguing. There's none where you're looking at it and going like, that's a bit meh. There's none of them, so that's good. A few of the players who have gone were sort of a lot of them were backup players, a lot of them were sort of deadwood. And what he's looking to do, I think, is replace the last season's first team players and have them then become the backup. I suppose that's how you get a stronger squad into it and stronger, more less players, but more strength in depth, if you like. And Max, I'm going to call him Maxi, the centre back from Plymouth, because yeah, I swear if I say his name, I'll say it different every time. I think it's Tovilierov or something like that. So
Yeah, Talavierov. He's
yeah,
the Ukrainian lad, isn't he?
yeah, he looks really excited. From what I saw at Plymouth second half of last season, he looks like he's got everything to be a real success in this league. Ashley Phillips coming back is a massive plus for us. And having them two in together at centre half, and now having Ben Wilmot as the backup, is a lot stronger than what we've had. We haven't spent money on the defence for a long time, so like I say, to spend money on one centre half, I was amazed we got Phillips back. He was an absolute rock for us last year from Tottenham, um, and we were thinking like it's funny because we did an interview with him on the podcast literally the week before, and we were talking about his future, and he was like, "Well, I want to make a go of it at Tottenham, really." But obviously, if I was to move, then yeah, I wouldn't say no to coming back to Stoke. But you got the feeling that he was like he was just sort of saying that, and his eyes were sort of set further up. And then lo and behold, they announced it, and it was yeah, like I say, he was the best outfield player we had last season. Victor Johansson was far and away the player of the season in goal. But yeah, so to get like I say him, Johansson in goal, those two centre backs, that's a really encouraging and exciting sort of a defensive point of view. Aaron Creswell, left back, good experience. We've got a younger lad, Eric Bockat. Well, I say he's young, he's like, approaching his mid-20s, but he's been a winger who's been put back into a fullback. So it'll be good that he's quite similar to Creswell and that his strength is going forward. And I imagine that working with him day to day will probably bring his game on as well. Then we've got, say, a couple of strikers who've one's got no English league experience and one's got no experience at all, but both have got decent pedigree. So we shall see if, like I say, the youngster from Manchester City, Mubama, or like I say, the lad from abroad comes in and hits the ground running. Hopefully, I will say though, one signing that's not been confirmed yet, but is in the pipeline. He's sort of training with us is Stephen Nzonzi, and I think that one would be the one that if the fans can get him back after say a decade away, just it'll just light the place up. I think even if he just comes on and strolls around for 10, 15 minutes at the end of games and just controls the game, like it'll just be amazing to see him back in a Stoke shirt from a fan's point of view.
Yeah, I agree. I think if he gets 15 minutes a game, he'll still be the best player in the league,
Yeah,
and that's coming from a Derby fan who remembers him well, and he was class. And it is nice to bring a little bit of heritage always back to a club. Like we've
yeah.
always wanted to get Will Hughes back from Palace, and it may happen. You just never know. But
Mm.
what one thing I was going to say, I was quite sad to see Wouter Berger go because I love his name, but
Yeah,
for
yeah.
4.3 million quid and only spending 1.7 so far, it's a great bit of business done by Stoke. And I think that you've done the right thing because you conceded far too many goals last year, 62 in total. Now, you don't have to score a lot of goals in the Championship to be successful. We've seen that in the past. I think it's more a case of shutting shop, and the
Yeah.
more clean sheets you get, the more opportunities you get to rise up the table. And I've always thought that it's not always about the for column; it's more about the against column that is really really key. So no, I think you've got some real good astute signings there. Just to quickly, so Derby, you've quickly had a brief look at them during the pre-summer, pre-season, and we've brought in obviously Mr. Brewster this afternoon, just been announced, which is you know sort of come out of the blue. Oh, there was rumours yesterday, a guy that was 24 million quid a few years ago, and now he's in on a free. So it just shows you gambles don't pay off. What's your thoughts of Derby's squad being built this year?
I think you've got some really good attacking talent coming in, especially for like I say, Carlton Morris was another one who I wouldn't have, like I say, would have liked to have seen him in a Stoke shirt. So I think he'll do you. They say tried and tested when you go into them, long midweek trips away and stuff. He's the kind of player who just grinds you out a result, won't he? And that, so he's always a good player to have at this level. And then obviously you've had the guy from America, is it Agumang, who
Yeah,
he
Agumang,
can't
yeah.
play, yeah, so he can't play. Can he against Stoke? Is that right?
He's got a hernia. We did the Derby way as normal. We signed someone for record money, pretty much, and then we find out he's got a hernia. But he'll be back in September, so you guys won't get to see the US striker, or we, to be fair.
Don't worry, we spent the majority of last year's budget on Boston Lowell, only to find out he had a fractured back and didn't play until April.
Yeah, the thing is, who does these medicals? Do they just
Yeah,
go, yeah, yeah, or they do heads or
they came.
tails?
Well, they came out after and they said, "Yeah, we knew he had a problem, but we didn't know it was that bad."
Bloody hell.
Yeah, we just he's one for the future. I was like, okay, well, let's hope that we've. I think that's why I was like, well, let's not go down now. Like, he's spent all this money on a player who can't play. So it's now in hindsight they'll say, well, they did the right thing, weren't they? That we did stay up if you like, and he's now going to be playing. But yeah, like I say, I think attacking wise, that's from what I can see, sort of the strength of the Derby. That's where you seem to be strengthening anyway, doesn't it? And where the excitement is with the Derby squad.
Yeah, we've signed five strikers, which is staggering from going from having none and scraping home last year to now having five, of which, to be fair, Morris has just come back, still struggling to get to full fitness.
Mm.
Vyman has only played a few minutes. Agimang has got a hernia. Salverson, our Norwegian that people forget about from last year, is still recovering. He won't be back till sort of October time. And then obviously we got Brewster, who could be an absolute revelation and banging 30 goals, or might score nothing and end up on loan at Burton down the road. You just never know. But so just quickly, sort of Championship 25-26. Who do you see the top three standout teams, or who do you think will automatic, and who do you think will scrape to the playoffs? I'm going to ask every guest every week because I
Yeah,
think I think last year was quite interesting how so many people had so many different sort of opinions on the top three and the bottom three, and we'll come to the bottom three second. But who do you predict will be up there or thereabouts?
Well, we're just about to do our 1 to 24, so I'm actually that's writing us down. So I've got Ipswich winning the league, no shock horror like there. Again, nothing majorly exciting in Southampton coming second, and then I think Sheffield United did. I think Leicester. A few people have got them doing well. I think they may be in for a bit of a struggle. I think everything that's going on behind the scenes isn't going to go away. I don't think for them. So wouldn't surprise me to see Leicester maybe struggling a bit this year.
Although they'll have a potential points deduction to come as well,
Yeah.
which is the rumor that it could be as many as 9 points. Because if you remember, they left the EFL and waved and went, well, we'll never be back anyway. And lo and behold, they've
Mm.
messed up, and the EFL are just there,
Yeah.
just waiting for the day. So the bottom three, I think this is the really difficult one because I think this year the championship is quite exciting, and I think with the teams coming up and the budgets they potentially have, um, this is a tough one. Where do you think, Dan? Where do you think are the teams that are going to struggle?
Well, okay, I say the obvious Sheffield Wednesday will come bottom in the
Yeah,
current. Yes,
it looks
such a
dire, doesn't
shame.
it?
It's such a shame what's going to. That's even if they're allowed to compete and come bottom, I think. Um, and then I suppose after that it is sort of whoever. And I think Oxford have been quite tip for the drop, but I think Gary Rowett's a solid championship manager who knows how to grind out enough 1-0 wins and whatever just to keep you away from that. Um, so my sort of pick, I would say Charlton and Preston would be
Ooh.
my two I would worry about. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
It's strange because I thought about this before I came on air, and I think there's going to be a shock this year. I've just got a feeling that one big team
Mm.
will end up going down into D1. Um, and I don't think it'll be any one of the new boys that come up. I think they'll survive. I think Charlton will somehow just survive. Um, but I just have a feeling Sheffield Wednesday is obviously the obvious one. Um, I think there could be a second. I think there'll be a lot of teams that are sleepwalking into D1, Preston being one. Hull, I think, will
Yeah.
struggle to recover. I think your expectations for Derby and Stoke then, before we wrap it up, where do you believe Stoke will finish? Because obviously you came 18th, we came 19th, and we went into the summer together with our dinghies and our lilos under each
Yeah.
arm. Where do you see both clubs?
I think we're both going to be in for much better seasons this year. It seems to me, obviously, Derby was more a season of consolidation and staying up on last year, then kicking on. Stoke, hopefully, have got a manager in place who they're going to, like I say, trust and keep hold of. And there's, like I say, so exciting players coming in there. I've got Stoke and Derby finishing top 10, but not quite making the playoffs. And I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I think it's good progress, isn't it, for both teams?
Yeah.
And it ultimately, like we said at the start of the preview, it's all about foundation building. Both clubs need stability. They need a plan. They need to stick to the plan, and hopefully that'll happen. So finally, score prediction for game one at Stoke City. Where do you see it going, Dan?
I think, judging off what you were saying with your strikers, maybe not being fit and stuff, I think we may, with a full crowd, and maybe a Steven and Zonzi pulling the strings, possibly, we will sneak a 2-1 win.
You did say nil-nil. What's right,
No, I
Dan?
didn't
Here.
say nil, no, no, no.
Do you know the funny thing is, I normally always go for a Derby win every recording. I just have a feeling this one could be a damp squid. I just got a feeling that
Yeah,
both teams are just not ready yet to sort of show their teeth. And I think there'll be a little bit of preservation to sort of make sure that they don't lose game one. And sort of have a feel. So you go 2-1. I'm going to be boring and go 0-0 again because I just have a feeling it just isn't going to open up. And like I said, when you bring both teams bring in so many new faces, it takes time to bed. So we'll see. Dan, finally, brilliant chat. Great to catch up. Where can we find you, so on your socials and all kinds of podcast recordings, and people can listen in on how Stoke are going to fend this year?
yeah. So it's every step along the way. Spotify, iTunes, all the usual. podcast providers. And then yeah, we've got a Facebook group, Every Step Along the Way, and we also on Twitter, X, it's at Every Step Along. And yeah, if you tap Every Step Along the Way, we're in all the other ones like Threads and Blue Sky and all that. But main one we use is Twitter and Facebook as well.
Brilliant. Dan Buxton, Every Step Along the Way podcast. It's been a pleasure this afternoon. Good luck for the season. I think both teams will be absolutely fine. We'll take
Yeah.
mid-table, top 10 mediocrity all day long. That's been the Derby Rams Review podcast versus Stoke City review. Dan, speak to you soon. And final thing for me to say is up the Rams.